I am so jacked up to give this talk. This is one of my favorite things to talk about because this changed my life. Now, I've tried to make a lot of changes in my life, but many times I just kept faltering over and over and over because I didn't understand the simple concepts that I'm going to go over with you today. So I'm just going to jump right in it. Most changes that people make are temporary, but they don't understand why. I want to go over that today with you. Before we get into it, I want to do a thought exercise with you. All right. And it'll make sense in a second. If you drive a car, I want you to think of your car. How many doors does your car have? What color is your car? Is it 2-door or 4-door? All right. Now, stop thinking about your car. I want you to think about the front door of your house. Is the doorknob on the left or the right? Does the door go in or does it go out? All right. As I'm asking you to do this, a picture of your front door comes up. Now think about your refrigerator. 2-door, 4-door. Or there is no such thing as a 4-door refrigerator. But what color is it? Is it stainless steel? Is it plastic? See, as I'm asking you to think of these, pictures are coming up on your mind. Now think of your mind. What color is your mind? Is it 2-door? Does it come in or out? What size is it? See, this is one of the great problems we have. It's the mind that we have to change, but we don't have any pictures of the mind. See, when I ask you to think of your car, a sound went into your ears and would send a signal to your brain, and cells of recognition of your car came up. So a picture came up. We think in pictures. We have no picture of the mind. How are we going to fix it? See, I used to work with electrical engineers, and they used to tell me they can fix anything. They need 2 things. They need to know how it works, how the machine works, and a schematic. I'm going to give both of those to you today. All right. Now, there was a doctor named Thurman Fleet in San Antonio back in 1935, and he was in the holistic healing practices. And he says, we are treating people wrong. We are treating bodies. We are treating symptoms. And until we treat the person, what's going inside, there will be no permanent change whatsoever. And this just doesn't extend to health. This extends to business. This extends to sales. The sales sheet, the business report card, those are nothing more than symptoms. If you're going to keep treating symptoms, you're never treating the root cause. So, here's a picture of the mind. Now, if you want to laugh, go ahead, because I know I laughed the first time I saw this. It's a couple circles and some lines. Looks like a stick man. In fact, that's what we do call it. We call it the stick man figure. Let me break it down for you. The top portion is your mind. The bottom portion is your body. Those lines coming out of your body, those are your results in life. Now, the body is an instrument of the mind. Whatever is going on in the mind will reflect itself in the body. There's 2 parts to your mind. There's the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind is what we think with. That's the thinking mind. That's what gathers information. It creates your ideas, formulates your goals, and it stores all the books and knowledge from school and all that training we get in. It all gets stored in the conscious mind. The subconscious mind is the emotional mind. Whatever's happening in the emotional mind, that's what controls what's going on in the body. That's going to make more sense in a few minutes. Let's talk about the conscious mind. Like I said, it gathers information, formulates thoughts, and that's where all the information is stored. Now, your conscious mind can reject or accept ideas. So David Pollock, you're wearing a red shirt right now. If I told you you're wearing a blue shirt, you'd say, no, I'm clearly wearing a red shirt. So you're using your conscious mind to reject an idea. All right. The way we gather information is through our sensory factors: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. All right. That's how we interact with the world. Unfortunately, we've been conditioned in life to live through our sensory factors. We're in a health and wellness group. Would you agree that most people live unhealthy lives in America? Yes. Why? Because we're living through our sensory factors. Hey, how'd you like to have a beer? Or how does that pizza smell? It smells really good, right? We consciously know beer, pizza, hot dogs, staying out late, all that stuff is probably not good for you. It's not conducive to health. Yet we're still doing it because it feels good, smells good, tastes good. Look at all the commercials on TV for all those unhealthy foods or all those things that just they feel great, but deep down in our conscious mind, we know that not right for us, but we still end up doing them. This is what happens when we live through our sensory factors, when we're trying to live for pleasure. Now let's go to the subconscious mind. What I said, whatever's in the emotional mind controls what the body does. That's why when you feel like doing something, you're going to do it. Even if it's not necessarily the best thing for you, you feel like doing it, you're probably going to do it. The subconscious mind, unlike your conscious mind, is amoral. It will accept anything you give to it, just like a garden. Think about it. If you plant some jalapeno peppers in your garden, what's it going to give you? Tomatoes? No. It's going to give you jalapeno peppers. A garden can't say, no, I don't want to give you that. I'm going to give you something else. Whatever you give to the subconscious mind, it will accept. Now, in the subconscious mind, nothing's good or nothing's bad. All it is the meaning that we give to it. So for us, if we were to think about stealing a car, I'm assuming most of us would probably say that's not a good thing. But there are people out there who in their subconscious mind have justified theft of vehicles or any other bunch of things that we might not consider okay. But in their subconscious mind, it's okay. The subconscious mind cannot say yes or no. It will accept anything you give to it. Here's the most important thing about your subconscious mind. It houses your paradigm. Your paradigm is a multitude of habits stored up in the subconscious mind that controls your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. And a whopping 95% of your actions are habitual. 95%? I didn't think it was until I really started to look into my personal habits. Like, actually, yeah, it's our habits that determine our results. Let's look at our habits. Let's first look at our actions. What do you eat? Would you agree you tend to eat the same things? How do you eat? Do you eat with your left hand or right hand? Do you usually eat the meat first or the vegetables first? Look at your morning routine. When you wake up, there's a certain routine you go through. That's a habit. How do you brush your teeth? Do you start from the left side or the right side? How do you get dressed? How do you drive? You in the fast lane or do you stay in the slow lane? How do you meet and greet people? Do you reach out, shake their hand, or you just give a little bit of a wave? How do you walk? You slouched over or your shoulders back? Your handwriting, your workout routine. How do you do your work? Are you always late or are you always early? The choice of music you listen to. Do you procrastinate? These are all habits. Now let's look at your thoughts. Are you a positive person or are you a negative person? Think about the way you talk. The way you talk is very habitual. Your physical gestures and mannerisms. Are you talking with your hands all the time? What do you talk about? When someone talks to you, are you always going to bring up sports or are you always going to bring up politics? That's a pattern. Are you problem-oriented or are you solution-oriented? I've worked with people who, when you ask them to do something, they'll give you all the reasons why it can't be done. I'd rather work with the people when you ask them to do something, they'll say, we'll figure it out. They don't know how it's going to get done, but they're going to tell you, we're going to figure it out, and they expect to figure it out. How do you respond towards adversity? What are your decision-making skills like? Are you a caring person or do you respond in sarcasm? Are you health-oriented or are you pleasure-oriented? Are you always going to go after that pizza or are you going to go after that salad? What's your type of managerial style? If you need something, you know which supervisor or manager to go to get it, right? Here we go. Empowering beliefs or limiting beliefs? Are you one of those people who makes progress only to say, oh man, I just know it's going to happen because every time I get to this level, I always fall back. Well, sure enough, you're probably going to fall back. These are limiting beliefs. Or are you one of those people who has an empowering belief that when I set a goal, I am going to get it. I don't care how, I'm going to get there. What are your buying habits? We are all in sales in some form or manner, right? We all have buying habits. We look for certain things. What are your sales skills like? We all present usually in the same way. What are your prospecting habits? Are you consistently making 50 phone calls a day? Are you meeting with 5 people in Zoom consistently? I hope I've proven to you that just about everything we do is habitual. Most of our the thinking that we do revolves around the habits. You have to understand, we don't necessarily choose our success or failure. We choose the habits. The habits determine our success or failure. So if you're going to do something towards your business, like I'm sure all of you know something you can do towards your business that's going to make it grow. Are you doing it? That's the question. I love this quote. I got it from Chris Prouty and Bridget on their Wednesday night call. By the way, those Wednesday night calls are amazing. You guys really need to join in on them because they're so much fun. But they said people don't have business problems. They have personal problems that manifest in their business. All those things I showed in the previous slide, those are personal issues. They will show up in your business. So if you're just trying to treat the symptoms of business, like poor sales, not enough clientele, or in health, you have to look at your personal habits. Those are all personal, all right? So from a health standpoint, what sounds better, a hot dog or kale and spinach? I go after the kale and spinach. Why? Because I've implanted in my subconscious mind that, hey, after I eat it, I'm going to feel better. I feel more confident. I feel more disciplined. There was a time in my life I wasn't like that, but I've reprogrammed that mind. It's the meaning that we give to it, all right? How about people who say their job isn't fulfilling? You think of these negative habits, they're like, oh, I'll feel better about my job when it is fulfilling. Well, you're waiting for an outside symptom to change your personal habit. That's backwards. I'm gonna play a short video for you. This is how the creative process works, all right? You have an idea, you think, you create that dream. Well, you have to impress that on your subconscious mind. Feelings and emotions are in your subconscious mind. That's the feeling mind. You impress that on the subconscious. What that does is it changes the vibration of your body. All right? Your body is what conducts the action. As the vibration changes, your actions change. As the actions change, your results are going to change. All right? As your results change, the universe and the rest of the world reacts to that. So if you've created an idea of confidence in your mind and you're living it, isn't the world going to respond and say, boy, this guy's confident. I want to do business with him. You may have the greatest idea in the world, but if you're not showing that confidence, how's the world going to respond? This is the creative process. You can't ignore this. When you change your conditions, you change your circumstance, you change your environment, you know what changes? The results change. That's what we're trying to get to. There is one exception to this, and I want you to understand this. There's 2 ways to change your paradigm. One is the creative process I just explained. The next is a deep emotional impact. Many of us can relate to this because some of us had really negative health experiences. I myself was very close to having a colostomy bag in my life about 5 years ago. And that was enough to induce change. Someone came in my life, gave me some information, and as soon as I heard it, I took that information and started working it right away. That deep emotional impact is what can induce a permanent change. But here's the problem. Those deep emotional impacts are usually negative. Classic example, the middle-aged guy who has a heart attack. He changes his life. Do you really want to wait for that emotional, dangerous experience to make a change? The other thing is they're unpredictable. You can't count on them. So the creative process that I showed, that's how you need to focus on that if you want to make permanent change. So now we come around full circle. There are no shortcuts to success. I've laid out to you the creative process. But why can't people make permanent changes? Because this is what they're doing. They have an idea in their mind and they try and go straight to the results. Perfect example, New Year's resolutions. January 1st, I'm going to start working out. Great. You go to the gym. The problem is, if you don't like working out, you still like that nasty food, you like hanging out with the wrong people, are things going to change? Probably not. Results are just an indicator of what's going on in your mind. Think of this. Let's suppose you want to go out, you're in Jupiter, Florida, and you want to take a weekend trip to St. Pete's. But instead of driving forward, you're going to drive all the way there in reverse. Think about that. You're driving like this, all the way to St. Pete's. How far are you going to get? You might make it out of the driveway. You might get on the street, past the block. Hell, you might even get on the highway. What's going to happen? Cop's going to stop you and say, hey, buddy, you've been saucing it up a bit. Because I don't know if you know, you're driving backwards on the highway. That red line is how most people are trying to make changes in their life. They have an idea, okay, I'm going to implement this idea right now, without trying to impress that idea on their subconscious mind. Because if you don't feel it, if you're not excited about it, what are the chances you're going to keep doing it? You may make 50 calls one day, but if you're like, oh man, these 50 calls are hard, are you going to keep doing them? Now, 50 calls isn't hard because I know there are people out there who are making 100 calls, 200 calls for their business, right? So it's not that 50 calls are hard. It's just the meaning and the representation that you give to it, all right? Think about training. Let's suppose you're an employer. You have a team underneath you. What do most employers do? Let me just give them some training and I expect the results to change. Well, if you haven't given them a reason to accept the training, what do you think? Do you really think they're going to implement the results? Probably not. How about health? All of us, when we experience that negative emotional impact, we're like, we thought we found the fountain of youth and we want to share it with everyone. I know I was telling my family, but they weren't doing it. I couldn't figure out why. Because all I was trying to do was just sell the features and benefits of it. I wasn't getting them excited about it. If you have health clients and you want to help them, you can't just list out features and benefits. You got to get them excited. Sell them on the freedom. Sell them on the vision. Sell them on the future. Sell them on the emotion. If you're not doing that, all you're doing is talking to the conscious mind. You're not going to get the results. Think about those buying habits. How many times you bought something that you didn't need, but you wanted it? Get your clients, get your customers, get your employees, get your team to want it. If you don't get them to want it, you know what they're doing? They're going through the motions. That's all it is. Going through the motions is simply you're doing something without any feeling or emotion. Think about all the times you've made a permanent change in your life. I guarantee you had some thoughts and some strong feelings associated with it. And then other parts of your life, you're like, well, I made a change in this one part. Why can't I make a change in this part? Because you didn't involve the feelings and emotions. What are the applications for this? All right, let's think about this. This is a blueprint to change any habit. All right. If you understand this, can't you program the paradigm of your children? See, I have two daughters who were diagnosed with autism, all right? Form of Fragile X is a form of autism. And the school they were in says, well, they're autistic, so we got to segregate them. I'm calling BS on that. You know what I do with my daughters? Before I send them to bed, I grab their hands like this and have them recite the same thing over every night. They say to themselves, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm strong, I have a beautiful imagination, I can do whatever I want, and God loves me. every night. When they wake up in the morning, they are happy. And you know what's happening? This is really cool. They stopped watching TV. Because I programmed them to believe that they have this beautiful imagination, when they come home, they don't care about the TV anymore. They want to exercise that imagination. They want to draw. They want to role play. They want to do all these other things that build that imagination. I didn't force them to watch TV. How many parents stop watching TV? How many parents are trying to force their kids to stop watching TV? Well, if you haven't given them the reason or something to replace that habit, they're not going to stop. You got to make them want it. All right. This is also the report card syndrome. How many times do kids get a report card? Maybe a kid gets a D or an F. Well, because he gets a D or F on the report card, the parents see that and they start treating that kid like he's a D and F student. And then the teacher starts treating him like he's a D and F student. What do you expect? The kid's going to respond like a D and F student. If you plant the idea that he's an A student in his subconscious mind, just like I planted those ideas in my daughter's minds, it changes the vibration, it changes the habits, it changes the behavior, then the results change. Like I said, we're all in sales. Think about this from a sales standpoint. When you list features and benefits, who are you talking to? You're talking to the conscious mind. But you know what? You're talking to the wrong mind. Who is the decision maker? You ever talk to a couple? Pretty fast you can figure out who's in charge, his wife or the husband. Know who you're talking to. See, this is why I love Michelle Myrtle's training on bank, because when you learn someone, when you understand what motivates them, you know what you're doing. You're not talking to their subconscious mind. You're not talking to their conscious mind. You're talking directly straight to their subconscious mind. Know who you're talking to. You can relate to them. Now you're talking to their feeling mind. See, if I were to just start talking to you right now in Spanish, you wouldn't get it. My message wouldn't resonate with you. If you want to reach the subconscious mind, you must speak in the language of the subconscious mind. This is what people don't get. Napoleon Hill wrote about this in the chapter on the subconscious mind in Think and Grow Rich. The subconscious mind speaks in the language of feeling and emotion. If you want to sell something, you must talk in the language of feeling and emotion. There is no way around it. I love the presentation a few weeks ago. It was from Sandy Bell. She was talking about tennis, and she talked about how it brings so much confidence and how fun it is. And I thought about, man, I want that for my daughters. She sold me on that vision for my daughters. Now, when things open up, I definitely want to get them into tennis. She made me want it. I love that. Think about healing others. How are you going to heal them? You have to get them, again, to want it. You can't just sell them on the features and benefits. I know we all have amazing products and services. We all do, and I believe in them all. But if you can't get them to want it, it's not going to work. I love this quote from James Allen. It says, "We think in secret and it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass." See, you don't have to tell me what's going on in your mind. I know what's going on in your mind. All I got to do is look at the results. Results tell the entire story. They don't lie. I know what's going on. So keep that in mind. When you start talking with people, just simply look at the results and it'll tell you what's going on. All the great thinkers in this world, all the most successful people have disagreed on just about every single thing, but they agree on one thing. We become what we think about. What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about the things you don't want or the things you do want? Remember that image I said where the sensory factors are coming into your head? Think about what people are talking about. Listen to the garbage that people discuss. They're gossiping. They're talking about problems. You realize that's what you're going to attract in your life, right? There's Dr. Ken McFarland. He was in the school system in Kentucky. He was one of the greatest speakers. He said 2% of people think, 3% of people think they think, 95% of people rather die than think. I was like, whoa, that's a pretty bold statement. You know what I started doing? I started listening to people. I started listening to their conversations. Again, gossip. Talk about what they don't want. Complaining. My wife did this. My husband, blah, 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 blah. My children, this and that. Talk about what you do want. If you're going to talk about a problem, talk about a solution for it. Are you problem-oriented or are you solution-oriented? You start listening to people and you're like, man, if they knew what they were really doing, they'd shut up and change their vocabulary. Talk about something different. See, all those sensory factors are like 6-lane highways going in and out of our head. And just information's come from us left and right. And sometimes that information seeps into our subconscious mind. And very few people are focused. Think about it. If someone says, hey, the economy's bad. Well, how many people would say, oh, yeah, I guess the economy is bad. I can't make any money. There are people right now, 2020 is their best year. They're killing it. They're making more money than they've ever made. Do you think they listen to those reports that the economy is bad? No. You have the ability to choose. Exercise that. Don't just let these ideas that you hear just seep into your subconscious mind. Exercise your right to think. Say, does this idea serve me? If it doesn't, reject it. Create a new idea. Formulate that dream. Don't live through your senses. That figure I showed you, I love that little guy. Because as I understand that image more, and I've been studying it for a long time, I understand myself more. And the more I understand myself, the more I understand you. Because the programming in us may change, but the nature of us is all the same. That stick figure, that's all of us. And once you understand it, this is how you start making permanent changes in your life. This is how I'm being able to plant an idea in my head and execute on it, even if it's something I never thought of before. All right. Now, my wife and I, some of you know my wife Claudia. This is what we talk about with our clients. This is what we help them do. We lay this out, and the process is not overly complicated. It just requires time. It requires repetition. Sometimes it just requires someone who's been through it. Both my wife and I have been through this process. We used it. We used it for our health. We used it for our daughters. We love talking about this. I left my information in the chat. If you just want to talk more about this or have more questions, reach out to me. I want to help every single person. I think this needs to be heard by everyone. So that's all I got. I always want to give credit where credit is due. Thank God. I want to thank God for giving me the courage to deliver this information. Thank you, Michael, for giving me the chance to speak. And lastly, thanks to my mentor, Bob Proctor, because none of this information is mine. I just found a way to put my own spin on it. So thank you.
Chris, that was fantastic.
Wow, absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Chris.
That was amazing, Chris. Thank you. And I love what you said, what you do with your babies. How old are they?
They are 7 and 4. And so it's, we're always trying to make sure that whatever's going on in their minds, it's something that we put in there. We want them thinking the right ideas.
You're instilling great habits on them. Thank you. Thank you for this great info.
And if you have grandchildren,
Chris, you
Amazing, Chris.
what you do, and that's part of it. And we believe in what you do, which is most of it, which is all of it. That's the important part.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris, this was amazing. I mean, we don't really have much time, but I would encourage everyone to follow up with Chris for one-on-ones to go over this. So much to dig into. I've recorded this, Chris, so you'll get a copy of it, and we streamed it in the Facebook group. So go back and watch it again if you need something, and get a hold of Chris. This is just life-changing. Thank you so much, man.
I have a question for Chris. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned, self-help, and we try to make our children better, so they're prepared for the world. And you mentioned something about, motivating your kids to do better in school. And I mentor adults now, but years ago I used to mentor children. And I remember one young man coming to me and saying, I do well in school. In one of my courses, I got a B. And when I showed it to my parent, my parent, focused on the B and not the A. And so I went to my other parent, and that parent was so excited that I got all A's, didn't even ask about the B, and said, what would you do that was better than you've done here? And they allowed the child said he allowed me to come up with a solution. And so I always remember that, because that child will go to the parent that feeds that subconscious. So I just want to thank you for reminding me that, because we can do that in adults too. We can focus on the good and just ask them what they would do better. They know they got a B. They know they got a D. We don't need to reinforce it, you know?
Yeah, Sandy, do you have a question? Sandy, you're muted.
It's all about learning styles, knowing the person, each learning, capabilities. It's like when I'm on the tennis court, I figure out what works best with all my students. I mean, you cannot teach this one-dimensional same way. Each person will say, oh, I'm book, I have to read it, I have to visualize it, or, show me it, something that it's like with the subconscious mind, it works different for everybody. You could get an A on, on an exam, but if person cannot get an A, but if they do an oral test, they'll get an A. So it works different. You got to learn how each person reacts to their style. And that's going to help you as a better person of your coaching business or your sales. It works that way.
Absolutely.
I just want to make a comment, Chris. You always heard people saying about we become what we think about. But how do we do that? And you really did a great job showing us that creative process there. And it's the vibration that you wanted to instill, you wanted to work on in order to make it become subconscious. So that was really awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Chris, I came across that book. I just went and grabbed it. It's by this guy, Og Mandino. And I put the, I put the title into the chat. The resources on subconscious are kind of expanding greatly. There's a lot of advances in science that are now finding what might just be called breakthroughs, of knowledge. And that Heart Math Institute, I think, would dovetail and maybe expand a little on your insights into that.
Great. I look forward to checking that out then. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be hot. It'll be really displacing, it's new tech, like just deja vu all over again, I guess you might say.
Great.
All right. Well, Chris, I want to thank you again. It was really mind blowing. I'd love to catch up with you personally to talk about some of that stuff too. And I'm sure everyone else will as well. So thanks again, guys. I want to just thank you for being here and always asking great questions and supporting everyone in this community. And let's do our best to get more people involved and share this great info out there. Okay. So
Great.
Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thank you all.
Thank
Have
you.
a great weekend, everybody. Chris, fantastic. Awesome job.
Thanks.
Very
Unbelievable.
Hey, Chris, I'll see you at the top.
Here you go.
And save the chat if you guys haven't done that already. Okay.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you guys.